The American Revolution was a time of great upheaval. It was a fight for freedom from British rule. Many people played a part in this fight. Some were famous soldiers and leaders. Others worked in secret, their stories untold for many years. James Armistead was one of these secret heroes. He was an enslaved African-American man living in Virginia. He yearned for freedom, a powerful dream in a land struggling to define its own liberty. He saw the war not just as a conflict between nations, but as a personal chance for liberation. James Armistead was born around 1748 or 1760. The records are not exact. He was enslaved by William Armistead in New Kent County, Virginia. Life as an enslaved person was hard. There were few choices and little hope for a different future, but James was intelligent and observant. When the Revolutionary War began, he saw an opportunity. He decided to offer his services to the American cause. This was a brave decision. It was filled with danger. Yet the hope of freedom was a strong motivator for him. By 1780, the American Revolution was in a difficult phase. General George Washington's Continental Army faced many challenges. Supplies were low, soldiers were tired, victories were scarce. The British forces seemed strong and well-equipped. Many colonists were losing hope. The dream of independence seemed to be slipping away. The leadership needed an edge, a new way to gain an advantage over the powerful British military. This was a critical moment in the long struggle for American independence, demanding courage from all. It was during this challenging time that Marquis de Lafayette arrived. He was a young French nobleman. He passionately believed in the American cause. He came to America to help General Washington. Lafayette was a skilled military leader. He understood the importance of good information. He needed to know what the British were planning. He was looking for trustworthy people to gather intelligence. It was Lafayette who would recognize the potential in James Armistead, setting the stage for a remarkable chapter in the war. Marquis de Lafayette needed reliable spies. He needed to understand British strategies. James Armistead volunteered for this dangerous work. In 1781, Lafayette gave James his blessing to infiltrate the British lines. James was to act as a runaway slave. He would pretend to want to serve the British. This was a perilous mission. If caught, he would surely face severe punishment, perhaps even death. But James was determined. He knew the information he could gather might help the American cause significantly. James successfully entered the British camp. He went to the headquarters of Brigadier General Benedict Arnold. Arnold was an American trader who had joined the British. James offered his services as a guide and a forager. He quickly gained Arnold's trust. Later he was sent to the camp of Lord Charles Cornwallis. Cornwallis was the commander of the British forces in the South. James acted his part well. He was careful and clever. The British officers believed he was loyal to them. Working for Cornwallis, James had access to important information. He moved freely around the British camp. He listened to conversations between officers. He observed their preparations and movements. He memorized details about troop numbers, supplies, and battle plans. Cornwallis even asked James to spy on the Americans. This put James in a unique position. He was now a double agent. He was serving two masters, but his true loyalty was to the American fight for freedom and to General Lafayette. James carefully fed false information to the British. He told them things that would mislead them. At the same time, he gathered crucial intelligence for the Americans. He wrote down his findings in secret reports. He then bravely delivered these reports to Lafayette. Sometimes he had to cross enemy lines to do so. His work was incredibly risky. He had to be constantly vigilant. One wrong step could expose him. His courage and skill were extraordinary. The intelligence James Armistead provided was invaluable. He gave Lafayette detailed information about British plans. He reported on their troop strength and their defensive positions. He also learned about their supply routes. This information allowed Lafayette and Washington to make better decisions. They could anticipate British moves. They could plan their own strategies more effectively. James was like their eyes and ears inside the enemy camp, providing a constant stream of crucial updates. His reports were a vital component of the American war effort. One of James's most important pieces of intelligence concerned Yorktown. He discovered that General Cornwallis was moving his large army to Yorktown, Virginia. Cornwallis planned to use Yorktown as a naval base. He intended to wait for British ships to arrive with more supplies and soldiers. James quickly relayed this critical information to Lafayette. This was the opportunity the Americans and their French allies had been waiting for. It was a chance to trap the main British army in the South. Lafayette immediately sent James's report to General George Washington. Washington and the French commander, Comte de Rochambeau, saw the strategic importance of this news. They realized they could encircle Cornwallis at Yorktown. The French fleet under Admiral de Grasse was sailing towards the Chesapeake Bay. They could block the British ships from reaching Cornwallis. The American and French armies could then march south to trap Cornwallis by land. James's intelligence was the key that unlocked this bold plan. The siege of Yorktown began in September 1781. American and French forces surrounded the British. The French fleet blocked the sea. Cornwallis and his army were trapped. They could not escape. They could not get reinforcements or supplies. After several weeks of fighting, Cornwallis was forced to surrender on October 19, 1781. This was a decisive victory for the Americans. It was the last major battle of the Revolutionary War. James Armistead's spying had played a crucial role in this historic triumph. After the American victory at Yorktown, the war soon ended. The United States of America was born. It was a new nation, founded on the ideals of liberty. But for James Armistead, freedom did not come immediately. Despite his heroic service, he was still legally enslaved. He returned to his owner, William Armistead. This was a bitter reality. He had risked his life for American independence. Yet, his own liberty remained out of reach, a stark contrast to the nation's proclaimed values. Virginia had passed a law in 1783. This law granted freedom to enslaved men who had fought as soldiers in the Continental Army. However, James Armistead had served as a spy, not a soldier. Under the strict wording of the law, he did not qualify for manumission, which was the act of freeing an enslaved person. His contributions, though vital, were not recognized in the same way as those of soldiers. It was a frustrating and unjust situation for a man who had given so much to the cause of freedom. Marquis de Lafayette learned about James's situation. He was deeply concerned. Lafayette remembered James's invaluable service. In 1784, Lafayette wrote a powerful letter, a testimonial, to the Virginia General Assembly. He praised James's courage, intelligence, and crucial contributions to the victory at Yorktown. He urged the lawmakers to grant James his freedom. Lafayette's support was very important. His words carried great weight. He highlighted the injustice of James remaining enslaved after his patriotic deeds. Thanks to Lafayette's intervention and the evidence of his service, the Virginia legislature finally acted. In 1787, James Armistead was granted his freedom. As a free man, he chose to honor the French general who had helped him. He adopted the surname Lafayette. He became known as James Armistead Lafayette. He lived as a farmer in Virginia until his death around 1830. His story is a reminder of the many unsung heroes of the Revolution. It highlights the courage of individuals who fought for freedom even when their own was denied.